In this example, we'll look at using Desmos to conduct a hypothesis test for a population proportion. We're told that Microsoft believes that less than 54% of homes in the US have a video game console. To investigate if the same is true for Midwestern households, 176 randomly selected Midwesterners were asked, "Do you have a video game console in your home?" and 47.78% responded yes. First question is, are the conditions met to test a claim about the population proportion? In this question, we aren't given the number of successes directly, but we can find that by taking p hat, the sample proportion, times the sample size, and we get approximately 84 successes. If we take our sample size minus the 84 successes, we get 92 failures. So the sample was large enough to obtain at least 10 successes and 10 failures. In part B, we're told that we want to construct the appropriate hypotheses needed to test the claim that the proportion of Midwest homes with a video game console is less than 54%. Since we're testing a claim about a proportion, our population parameter will be P. The null hypothesis is always a statement of equivalence, and we'll test that P is equal to 0.54, with the alternative, based off the claim, that P is something less than 0.54. Then we can open up Desmos. And in this case, since we're testing a proportion, we'll need to enter information on the number of successes and the sample size. We had a sample size of 176 people, and we had a sample size of 84. So once we enter in the successes and the sample size, then we can skip over entering any data. We're not worried about calculating skewness. We can input a value for the null, which is the numerical value in our hypotheses, which in this case, let me double check, was 0.54. Once we've entered in that information, we can click on the drop-down arrow for population proportion, and we see 3 different p-values, all corresponding to P, the population parameter for the population proportion, and we have in subscript the statements less than, greater than, and not equal to. So all 3 p-values are being calculated. It's up to us to know which one is appropriate for our test. We were using an alternative of less than, so we'll take this first p-value of 0.0475 once we round that. In this case, this p-value is larger than 0.01, so we fail to reject the null hypothesis. What that means is that there is insufficient evidence to discredit the null hypothesis. If we can't discredit the null hypothesis, we maintain the assumption that P is equal to 0.54, that the population proportion is equal to 0.54. And then we're asked, what can we conclude from this test? In this case, the claim is not supported. The data does not provide enough evidence to suggest that the percentage of homes in the US with a video game console is less than 54%. So as we're using Desmos for these different hypothesis tests, we just need to keep in mind what information we need to enter in these first few cells up above, and make sure we're entering that numerical value from our hypotheses in order to complete the test and then pull that appropriate p-value.